日は LJL2017 サマースピリットラウンド2 Day 2の模様をお送りしております。さあレボルさん、ゲーム1ランページ圧倒的と序盤から
Welcome back and thanks for watching once again. This is your host Joshua Joshi Howard coming at you live, bringing you all of the LJL action. If you were watching during the break, you might have noticed a small sound coming in there, and I do have to talk about that real quick. For anybody who enjoys Broadway or anything like that, there's been a very famous musical that's been making the rounds recently, Hamilton by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and people have been able to listen to the soundtrack for a while now, but I just was informed of a really high quality bootleg of the live play coming out on YouTube. So I did have to find a download link for that. Unfortunately, I have to wait until after the broadcast to download that so we can, have this quality time together. But I have to say I'm excited. I have not yet had an opportunity to see the play because it's not here in Seattle yet. We only have it in New York. But that's not important right now. We're going to get back into the LJL action, and realistically, Rampage had a fantastic first game. A couple of key points that we were able to see from that was potentially the bait on the Zac. Looking back, I really liked Rampage's draft. They purposefully left the Zac open, something for Rascal Jester to pick up, knowing that Tussle would be able to punish the relatively weak or slow but high sustained clear that champion has. And it'll be interesting to see if Rascal Jester are willing to make the same kind of gambit. Tussle is one of the strongest junglers in the LJL and was, one of the stars of the team at MSI, keeping them in much longer than they had any right to be. It'll be interesting to see if Rascal Jester are willing to give him the chance on the Zac. I'm going to lean towards no, simply because he's so good, and they're even drawing the Iron ban. But right now, it's going to be interesting to see what the last ban for Rampage is. They banned the Elise out against Wyvern last time, and it wouldn't be surprising to see the same thing. Tussle has tons of opportunities to do things, but Rampage are actually opting to ban the Zac as the blue side. The blue side is not where you usually see this ban. It's something that you want to see coming up from the red side, simply because they are forced to ban it if they don't want to give it over to the first pick, and that means Rascal Jester is going to ban away this Thresh. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like, exactly, I was going to say the Lee Sin or the Elise, the two junglers right below Zac in terms of how powerful they are internationally. We see them everywhere, and immediately we see Wyvern moving towards that Lee Sin. One of these, these are both incredibly safe, incredibly powerful junglers. They don't tell you anything about the other team's team composition because they can both choose their fights so well. Lee Sin hits that resonating strike. As much as your mind, or as much as your body is telling you yes to follow it, at this level of play, your mind does have a little bit more impact on exactly what it is you're doing. You don't have to follow the cue. Elise, with the new plants, is able to repel so freely relative to how she was before. Before, it used to just be enemy champions and some jungle camps, but now there's a plant up, you're free to go. That blast cone is going to be a great spot for you to go. And just right now we're looking at much more standard compositions. Rampage, while they are a very strong team, almost cheesed Rascal Jester last game. They really got that strong pick. We do see the Ashe coming out and the Misfortune coming out for Yutori and Dara, and that's not a surprise at all. For anyone who remembers, the surge of Misfortune support, it was specifically against Zyra as a champion. The passive on Misfortune's auto attacks, getting extra damage on any target that they're not haven't previously auto attacked, which is all plants, means that if you and your ADC both auto attack the plant at the same time, that plant not only doesn't do any damage but dies immediately, and you really limit the poke that Zyra is able to provide, while providing plenty of your own with the double up and the make it rain, doing tons of damage back to Zyra that she can't really compete with. It'll be interesting to see exactly what it is that Rascal Jester chooses to do. Right now, we've seen very standard strategies. Both teams have picked their jungler and their bot lanes, but that means that the solo lanes are going to get focused very heavily with these bans and these picks, and it guarantees both team at least one counter pick depending on how it is they choose to draft. Things like that Fizz, like the Galio, are the big ones. To a lesser extent, characters like Jace are flexed between the top lane and the mid lane, and potentially deny your opponent a strong counter pick in those lanes, but they're not particularly common in Japan, and the Fiora and Orianna are banned out against Ramune, while the Taliyah is the third ban we're seeing up against Lavia, and while it'll be interesting to see what the last ban is, it's probably going to be another one targeted at him, simply because he's, one of the stronger rookies, and again, 4 mid laners, a total of 5 mid laners, 6 if you count Galio, being banned out in this game. And it's exciting on the one hand. Gragas is going to be picked up. That's definitely going to, not quite locked yet, but likely going to be picked up as a very strong, safe blind pick for Atyamomo. But it says to me that Ramune's champion pool is expanding. I didn't say that, but we're seeing a lot of different things picked up. Jarvan is going to be hovered here, which is often paired with things like that Taliyah and the Orianna, but both of them are already banned in this game. So it'll be interesting to see what it is he chooses to pick up for that. Most of the meta mid laners are gone, but there are still things like that Victor, which we're seeing a little bit in NA as a kind of fallback, a tier below of the mid laners. But the LeBlanc, we talked about this earlier. This is something that Ramune liked to play. It's one of the few champions he's been very confident on, and it's such a strong blind pick in the meta right now, especially when you're going to be putting the pressure on the rookie of Lavia, seeing exactly what it is he chooses to pick. Now, a lot of different places like to play the Swain. They like to play the Cassiopeia as 2 of the strongest counter picks up against LeBlanc, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lavia has at least one of those in his back pocket. We haven't seen him play either of them yet, but he is going to opt for that Kassadin, just going to fight fire with fire, going to be jumping onto everyone, and Rampage, this is one of the most aggressive compositions we've seen come out of them pretty much ever. Everyone's going to be able to do tons of damage. You got the Jarvan, you got the LeBlanc, you're going to be locking people up for the Misfortune bullet time coming across the team, and tons of early game damage, tons of scaling. Well, not actually great scaling, but they'll do a fantastic job in the mid game. As they start to deal, they'll be able to fight so much, and both teams are actually looking to do that. The only true tank in this game going to be Atyamomo's Gragas, who, if he is able to get an early lead up against Evi's Jarvan, which was banned out against him in game 1, it'll be huge. It'll be a huge advantage for the team if he's able to have that front line provided. Peace sign, Dara. He knows the camera's on him, and that's one of the things I really like about Rampage. They're used to being in the spotlight so much. They just have these little plays with the camera that you don't necessarily see coming out from the other teams. Nobody on Rascal Jester is going to give us a peace sign, but Dara's like, yeah, I know, I'm cool. I helped win that game. But we're going to be jumping in one more time to the Rift. No need for a long pause series coming out here, simply due to the the mishap in Champions Select last time. We're going to be able to load right into the Rift, and just these team comps are going to have so much power in the mid game. Between the 15 and the 25 minute mark, everybody gets their first item and a half. First item and a half on everyone. Going to be tons of poke coming out from that Varus. From that Ashe, but not necessarily a whole lot of wave clear from either side. So whoever gets this lead in the mid game with those early item specs, able to push through, pick up potentially a couple mountain dragons, ocean dragons, or cloud dragons to really rotate around and really get those structures much more quickly, is going to have a huge advantage as we start moving into the later stages of the game. But once again, we only see the 2 Doran shields coming out, which is an interesting choice. I would have potentially expected a Doran shield coming out from Lavia's Kassadin, simply because he's playing against LeBlanc, who is going to have that range advantage, is going to be able to put down a lot of auto attacks, and really just have a strong presence early in the game. But the Dark Seal does a very similar thing, able to sustain in a different way. The Dark Seal and the refillable potion does increase his ability, or does increase the potency of those potions, and really keep him healthy for a lot longer. I have to say, I really like the Godfist Lee Sin skin. It's while it's not necessarily as flashy as some of the other legendary skins that we've seen, it's just it's cool and it knows it, and it just runs around and just has these ridiculously over the top voice lines that you wouldn't see on almost anything else. But this is another thing we tend to see a lot in lots of damage going on to Yuki there so early in the game. Wow, and 2 CS already picked up by Utomoyashi coming off of those plants. Not going to be a big deal in terms of the gold, but it is going to inflate his stats a little bit. But right now, Wyvern and Atumomo choosing to start at that red buff, and the rest of Rampage is just going to go back to their respective lanes. Nothing particularly surprising coming out from any of these masteries. Both ADCs opting for the Fervor, a little more late game damage and team fight presence as opposed to that, the lane sustain right here. But the Fervor is also coming out from Evie. Now there's a lot of different options available for Jarvan. That's one of the more popular ones, especially because he does become such a strong tank with the Titanic Hydra, with the Black Cleaver, and he's going to sustain a long time, which means he's going to get a lot of auto attacks and a lot of free AD. We are seeing, look at how low Yuki is already in this lane. Having to burn through potions so quickly and not having any presence, gonna back already at the 2.5 minute mark. That's gonna put Noah in a very awkward spot until Yuki's able to come back, pick up that control ward. But he's gonna lose a lot of CS, take a lot of poke. That Thunderlord's coming out from Dard, doing a little bit of work onto Noah, but that Dorn Shield, again, paying dividends. Such a strong item. Lots of, just a belly bump. These two manly men are just going to, they're in the locker room up here in the top lane. They just want to say hello to each other, and they're going to be bumping into each other for a while now. They're just going to be bumping back, and wow, that sounds really awkward. I'm going to stop using that whip. But Ramane is going to be jumping in onto Lavier there, getting a lot of damage, or taking a lot in return. And Tussle here, not going to spot out Wyvern quite yet, but is going to steal away some of his jungle. And that might be enough. Wyvern is looking for some good pressure onto Tussle. He does spot him out. Doesn't land the Resonating Strike quite yet. Does land it on, and this could be very big. The Blast Cone is going to send them both over the wall, and Tussle is in a very bad spot. Is forced to flash away from Lavier, but there he goes. He flashes forward, and that's the double buffs onto the mid laner. Wyvern also finds Evie, follows him over the wall with the Resonating Strike, and he still has the flash. This is a fantastic situation for Rascal Jester. You can't afford to give Kassadin double buffs and that early kill. He's a champion who's renowned for a weak laning phase, and if you give him that laning phase for free, there's not a whole lot you can do after it. And ooh, look at that, taking no damage, is gonna throw out that Q that's silence. I can't remember the name of it at the moment, but it's the magic damage shield's going to prevent anything from Ramane right now, and even with a more confident play on such a strong split push, such a strong early to mid-game champion, it's going to be a very bad spot for Ramane, especially as this wave is going to freeze and push towards the red side, going to potentially deny a lot of CS off of him, as well as both mid laners do choose to teleport into the mid lane. Blasting Wand already picked up by Kassadin, just going straight for a damage portion of the Rod of Ages, just completely ignoring the catalyst, saying, hey, I have the red buff and the blue buff, you can't fight me at all. And it's a huge advantage. Wyvern is here in the wings as well, still has the blue buff, no longer has the red buff to threaten, but look at that, just able to put so much damage. Wyvern is going to come in. Ramane did use his W already. He's not going to have to flash. The Resonating Strike does not land, and now Tussle's back here trying to get a little bit back, and Dara's even moving up as well. Ramane could make another bait move by moving in with that distortion, try and get Lavier to go in forward, but without the flash, without the Rift Walk, I don't expect it to be too successful, and we see Dara heading right back down to the bot lane. And overall, right now, other than that kill and the double buffs being put onto the Kassadin, giving him that experience and gold advantage in the mid lane, the biggest thing we need to look at is how the bot lane is going to shape up. Utomoyashi does already have a 15 CS lead. I don't know about that one. It's some good damage onto Lavier, but you really do need to get that early right now, especially since Lavier just hit level 6. He's going to have so much more all-in potential over the next couple of minutes, and especially until Ramane gets his own ultimate available. But Yutori Mayashi is sitting at a 15 CS lead over Noah, and that comes almost entirely due to the early pressure that Dara and Yutori were able to put onto Yuki, forcing him to back out and leaving Noah in a 1v2 situation. Lots of damage starting to get traded back. Still here in the mid lane, Ramane is running much lower on CS, and there he goes, forced to flash out by Lavier. The force pulse barely missing. And that's a ton of pressure being put down here as well. Lavier is going to have a lot more roam pressure. He's going to be able to push up, deny more CS from that LeBlanc, and LeBlanc's going to be put decently far behind in a position where they aren't necessarily going to be able to split push up against Lavier's Kassadin. And that's not something you can have. The Hextech Gunblade build that a lot of LeBlancs have been favoring, including Ramane, is designed to split push because you're able to just sustain any damage. You know, if anybody comes and tries to 1v1 you, you'll just clear a couple of waves with the Sigil of Malice, and you'll be good. You'll be back to full health in no time. But if you're going to be late, if you don't have that in time, it's going to be a much more difficult spot. And right now, Evi is putting damage onto Atyamomo, but we talked a little bit earlier about the triple Doran's Ring build that many tanks are favoring up here in the top lane. Ramane is getting aggressed on by Lavier, lots of damage. The double chain's coming out one more time, not going to be able to do a whole lot of damage. He's going to go aggressive one more time. One more Sigil of Malice proc could be all it takes, but both junglers are sitting here in the wings. Both of them are waiting for the opposing mid laner to make a mistake. Both of these mid laners are very mobile at this point in the game. But without any flashes, Ramane is potentially moving a bit too close. Tussle is on the other side, taking away Rascal Jester's blue buff. And it looks like both of them, Ramane is posturing so aggressively. And while this is good, while the confidence he's displaying is fantastic for an otherwise fairly passive player, it is potentially going to get him in trouble. And here we see Evi coming down, knows that Wyvern is going to try and counter the blue steal by Tussle, but as a whole, Rampage moving a little bit better as his team and narrowing down the gold lead presented. But here comes Wyvern. Lavier goes forward, the W comes in, but Wyvern flashes forward, lands the ultimate and the resonating strike, and that's going to be another kill here in the duo between Lavier and Wyvern, and that's going to be very dangerous. But Evi uses the Cataclysm here in Atyamomo. The explosive cask does not knock him out. The second knock-up comes out from Evi, and this fervor is stacking up huge. One more Q should be all it takes. Ooh, he chooses to throw the flag, not the drag, and flashes forward, takes so much damage from the minion, he's gonna go down. He's cracking up. Atyamomo's cracking up. They both know how ridiculously bold that was, and unfortunately, it's not going to pay off at this point. And that was not the move that Evi needed to make. The rest of his team is, a little bit behind, but not so much. And here comes the bullet time coming out from Dara. Tons of damage going on to Yuki. Forces both the heal and the flash out of him. Chains of Corruption was committed by Noah as well to make sure Dara and Yutori don't do anything more. But Tussle's down here to try and pressure this turret off. Yuki is still only level 5, does not have the ultimate available, but here comes the teleport coming out, double teleport coming out, but they're all canceled, and quite wisely, I think. As soon as they saw the teleport responding coming in, there was actually a triple teleport coming in. Ramane's was committed, Atyamomo's and Lavier's, but none of them finished. But we do see Wyvern down here. Tussle is already back in a potentially dangerous spot. That pink ward's going to give Yutori and Dara a lot of safety. Oh, he goes over, does land the resonating strike. There's no ultimates on Yutori or Dara, so that could be much more scary as they move around. Just going to get some good damage onto Wyvern, but Yuki now has that ultimate, not going to be nearly as easy to force out again. But without the flash and without the heal, it is going to be much more easy to kill him next time. And as Yutori does go back, never mind, he hasn't backed yet, but they're both sitting on the same items down here in the bottom lane, the Bilgewater Cullis and the Dorn Shield. It is going to be a much larger lead as he goes back, picks up the rest of the pieces for the Blade of the Ruin King. And potentially, much more damage coming out from Dara as well. But Wyvern's coming in here, is going to be able to pick up this Mountain Dragon. Should be pretty easy to do on his own. You know, he does have the kill, does pick it up. The Mountain Dragon's going to give them a lot more pressure. We mentioned this before the game started. That's going to be something that they need to pick up in order to get this lead. And with a little under 1,000 gold lead, the first Mountain Dragon, and a good lead onto your mid laner and your jungler, both who have strong peaks here in this mid game, it's going to be a fantastic spot. And Ramne is struggling right now to deal with the Mercury treads built up by Lavier already. He does not have the AP or the penetration to get through all the defenses that he is starting to build. The Ruby Crystal, the Mercury treads, and simply the Dark Seal and the refillable potion all doing plenty of work. And that means Evie is going to try and come down here. Just because you have the Mercury treads doesn't mean you're going to be able to do anything. It's the physical damage. And here comes Evie, not going to commit. Oh, he does commit the Cataclysm. The chains are on him. That forces Lavier's flash. But he's got plenty more of those. It's called the Rift Walk. And while that is good pressure, I'm going to get a little more CS onto Ramne, keeping the deficit as small as possible. He is still down 15 CS at the 12-minute mark. And we're going to see more pressure coming in. Tussle's going to get spotted out by this pink ward, is going to be able to take that back. Wyvern's not in a good spot to deal with it. But Rascal Jester is looking in a much stronger position than they were in Game 1. Now that we also saw this, we got to talk a little bit about what happened in their last set against Unsalted Stuff Gaming. They did have a large lead on their jungler. Wyvern started the game 4-0-1 on the Elise. You know, one of the strongest junglers that we talk about so often, but he, again, was not able to transfer that lead to the important carries on the rest of his team. And they ended up paying for it, and honestly, it looked like the team just as a whole forgot how to team fight. Unsold Stuff was down around 5,000 gold at the time that they started moving in. Rascal Jester picked up a dragon, but as they retreated, lost 3 members, and as the gold narrowed, Unsold Stuff very quickly came back into a position of just being able to destroy any team fight simply off of the power of their individual play. We do see Evie roaming down a lot more, trying to help out his mid laner, but he's also struggling a little bit as Ramne does force another Rift Walk out of his opposing mid laner, and man, those two names are kind of a tongue twister to say right after each other, Ramne and Lavier. But the Hawkshot is going to spot out Wyvern. They do see him, and this bot lane is going very low, nearly a 35 CS lead right now for Yutori over Noah. And that's only going to get larger if this turret does go down. Wyvern is still hanging out down there. Ramne is going in onto Kassadin, but here comes Tussle. He's going to need to land a stun. Ramne is taken very low. He does land the stun. He's going to be able to Rift Walk over this wall. Will they be able to continue? Tussle flashes forward, has the red buff. Lavier is just going to be able to walk out of that. Not enough damage, not able to get that next auto attack. And a little bit over aggression coming out from the Elise, and that could be very dangerous as Wyvern's going to come in here. He does a lot more damage at this point in the game. The Warrior Enchantment doesn't need, more AP to scale, because it's not an extra AP ratio. It just is its own AD ratio. The Chain of Corruption goes down onto your Tomoyashi as all ultimates down here in the bot lane are committed, and both heals as well as Yutori's flash. That was a big mystic by Yutori, and while he's going to be safe right now, he still has plenty of lifesteal and should be alright after that. It'll push back the timing on this first turret a little bit farther, and look at that damage that they're starting to put back onto the bot lane right now. Yutori is getting a lot of damage put back onto him though, but Tussle is here. This should be the beginning of the end of this turret right now. They are going to take the first one, and it'll really be telling to see how it is that they adjust the gold, and they are going to share it amongst all 3 of these members, and it looks like they're going to start trying to push for a second one. That's not something we see very often, especially before a full completed item. We do see Noah going back, completing the Blade of the Ruin King, and wow, is going to be pushing in even farther. And that's some really unfortunate stats there for Noah, not picking up a single kill or assist in the last set that they had. I find that a little bit hard to believe, I'll have to check my notes on that one at some point, because ADC with nothing at all is scary, and he definitely did. I imagine those must be stats from the last time from the previous game that these two teams played, where Utormiyashi went absolutely massive. I don't believe he died, and at least 10-0-3 was the last score I specifically remember, which does sound much more reasonable, as he did do massive amounts of damage, whereas Noah was struggling to stay relevant for a lot of it. But we do hit the first turret destruction. Ramune is sent down to the bottom lane, and the bottom lane is sent to the mid lane to try and deal with this cast and prevent him from getting too far ahead in the 1v1. And with ultimates available again for Utoria and Dara, they are going to start threatening Lavier, especially with Tussle in the mid lane, but they are going to end up trading it for this bot lane turret. Ramune is not strong enough, does not have the wave clear to deal with this. Resonating Strike misses, and that is just going to be a very quick counter turret, as the gold again swings in favor of Rascal Jester. With the 3 kills and only a 400 gold lead, it is showing exactly why Rampage is one of the stronger teams. Oh, Enchanted Crystal Era does not land. Going to easily Rift Walk out of that one. Has his flash available once more, and he's going to be just fine. But we are starting to see, such a small advantage on Rascal Jester could manifest into something big. Tussle is kicked back into the team, and that is going to be another death onto that Elise, as Wyvern finds an easy pick. No flash on Tussle, and they are going to be rewarded with not only the kill gold, but also this Infernal Drake, unless some miracle comes out from Ramune, and it will not. The Mountain Dragon and the Infernal Dragon coming for Rascal Jester, and they are going to be making a case very soon for being able to hang with these top teams in the league. Wyvern taking away this red buff again, and the story of the junglers over the course of this set is starting to tell the story of the entire game. Ramune is getting caught up by Wyvern. There's no kick on that Lee Sin anymore, but it's still enough to scare Ramune away. Right now, up in the top lane, we do take a look. We do see the Titanic Hydra being completed onto Evi's Jarvan, not yet picking up any of the components for that Black Cleaver, not getting the armor shred against the Iceborne Gauntlet that Atyamomo has already completed. Just getting a lot of armor, not yet worried about the magic damage provided by Tussle and Ramune, especially at this point in the game. The 2 AP damage threats are combined at 0, 3, and 0, and behind in CS in the LeBlanc-Cassian matchup simply because of the early missteps. Tussle, there was a very interesting, in their set last week against Burning Core, we saw how nuttily aggressive he was early in the game, and he ended up paying for it. And against Burning Core, it didn't matter that much, but against Rascal Jester, it is showing to be a much more impactful thing here, as Ramune is getting aggressed on by Lavia using the second Rift Walk. He is going to be able to distortion away, but Rampage is starting to look for a strong engage right now. They do have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. If they land onto someone like Noah or Yuki, there's the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. There comes the bullet time and the stun. He's got nowhere to run, but he's not taking enough damage yet, and here comes the teleport as the Chains of Corruption. The second teleport, Wyvern goes in, kicks Utori back onto the other side. He is forced to use the flash and is the first one to go down in this fight. Tussle's going to follow him very soon. Wyvern's in a tough spot, and Evie goes in, picks up a counter kill. Tussle is actually still alive, but I don't think he's got a whole lot left for this world. Atyamomo does miss the thing, but it's a 2-for-2 right now, or a 2-for-1. Tussle is still running around. There's no mana left on Lavier. He does not have his flash, and while this cocoon comes out, he should be alright. Ramene's back. In such a messy fight, a 400 gold lead for Rascal Jester when all is said and done, but Tussle does make it out alive, and that's exactly what we were talking about this at the beginning of the game. He's able to pick and choose his fights much better than many of the junglers, and that's why he's such a strong character right now. And we see even creeps get creeped block by that the flag coming out from Jarvan. But ultimately, still a fairly sloppy team fight, and we did see that there's not enough damage coming out from Rampage yet. They did get the stun onto Yuki. They got the bullet time across him as well, and he only got brought down to about half health. And eventually, it was just Ramune who was able to come in, make a confident play, pick up Zyra, and I'm sure we're going to see a replay in a couple of moments to just, really take a look at what exactly happened, because Yutori Mayashi got kicked in, not able to have the impact in the fight that he necessarily wanted to, especially since he's half a Zeal item up on Noah right now, and that's going to be really, that could have been really impactful. But we're going to see it one more time. They're looking around. There's no vision on Rampage. They do get the stun onto Yuki, but the Chains of Corruption comes back, and Yutori Miyashi was not in range to auto-attack Yuki due to the Chains of Corruption, and the kick puts him in a very bad spot. He flashes, but he just puts the team in a very bad spot for AoE as Tussle uses the... Oh, here we go, another fight. Another bullet time going on to Yuki. Lots of damage getting put onto him. Evie's going to try and find him. He does not have the Cataclysm. He had already used it in that fight. But that's a lot of pressure that Rampage is generating for themselves simply by moving as a 5-man unit and using all of the engagement tools that they have available to them. And they are going to get this mid lane turret and take a gold lead in this game. They're currently about 600 gold up after that, and with the next dragon spawning about a minute and a half, Rampage is going to be in a good spot. They've opened up the center of the map, and they can really start doing a lot more. And the Titanic Hydra doing a lot for the wave clear, but it is going to get traded down to Atyamomo, and we are dead even in gold, ladies and gentlemen. Really, the big story here being that CS lead that Yutori is slowly starting to build up, and he's not even being sent to the side lanes, where we often see him slowly build it up. He does have the Quicksilver Sash to help him get out of the Chains of Corruption, and a little bit of CC from the rest of the team. The root coming out from Yuki, and Ramune getting jumped on by Lavier, and that's a very scary spot to be. We see that Ramune is not yet in a spot where he can split push effectively against a 2-item Kassadin, sitting on that Lichbane and that Rod of Ages, and a 6-stack Dark Seal, making that effective gold on that item much higher than it would otherwise be. And Dara moving towards that Black Cleaver, not a surprise at all on that champion at all. And it's going to be, amplify both his damage and the damage coming out from both Ev and Yutori significantly. Again, Yutori chooses to go, Lavia does find Ramune getting a lot of damage down onto him, being forced to use all these chains. But here comes a teleport coming out from Evie. Lavia still has his flash, but he's going to choose to Rift Walk onto Ramune. Goes in, gets a lot of damage, and dodges the Flag and Drag combo. But the Cataclysm, you can't dodge that. And that is a 1-for-1 when all is said and done. But definitely something in favor of Rampage, as they do pick up not only Lavia's flash, but also the assist gold. And right now, it is in a big situation. Lavia is much more key to the team than Ramune is at the moment. And with the teleport coming in, there's a much stronger 4-man unit coming out of Rampage, getting good damage onto Atyamomo with the Enchanted Crystal Arrows coming across. But the Zyra ultimate is going to be a fantastic disengage, as Atyamomo is going to flash out of there. And Rampage is in a fantastic spot if they do choose to go towards this Mountain Drake, even up that first advantage, and reducing the gold lead, or the effective gold lead being built up by Rascal Jester. They do choose to move down here, getting some good chunking onto it. But here comes the teleport. Lavier is back up. Ramune is going to match the teleport as well. They get the knock up onto Lavier. He's going to have to Rift Walk out. There's no Cataclysm left to follow it. But the team is split right now. Ramune goes in, gets a lot of damage onto Noah. He gets stunned up again in the bullet time. Yutori Mayashi flashes forward, gets the first kill onto the opposing ADC. And that is massive. The gold lead here that we were seeing previously is not going to matter if you're going to be missing one of your primary damage dealers. You're going to have to look to Wyvern and Lavia if they want to try and get anything off of this, but they are going to cede that objective. And some fantastic team fighting, some recognizing that even though it's ultimately 5-on-5, if you can find a localized 4-on-3, that can be good enough. And they do find it. They find Noah. He still has his Chains of Corruption available, but with the lack of Zyra ultimate and Atyamomo forced out at relatively low health, it's putting them in a fantastic spot. They pick up the objective, and that's the kind of team fighting that we expect to see and are happy to see off of these top level teams in the Japanese league. couple more items coming out. We do see the 2 black cleavers being built by the top laner and the support coming out from Evi and Dara. That's going to be a huge boon to their damage overall. It boosts both their damage as well as the damage coming out, particularly from Yutori, who in many cases is the primary carry of Rampage. And if you can just, give him all the tools he needs to be successful, it's going to be great. But with his flash down right now, it puts him in a very dangerous spot. He's not going to be able to flash the Explosive Cask. He's not going to be able to flash the Dragon's Rage. And if they put him in the enemy team, it doesn't matter if he's enabled incredibly hard. He's not going to be able to survive. He doesn't have the Ivern, and he doesn't have the Dark Passage coming from the Thresh this time to make up for that. But they are finding Tussle. Banshee's Veil is going to stop the Resonating Strike. And right now, Rascal Jester does see, they do have a mana advantage right now, especially since Evi is in the bottom lane without a teleport available right now. They're either not willing to push that advantage or unaware that he has no teleport at the moment. And that's something that, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They do recognize that he does not have a teleport, but they aren't confident enough to necessarily go for that. Stun misses. Cocoon is going to let Wyvern just walk right out, and Rampage is going to be able to clean up all the vision here around the Baron. And it's going to be a very good spot for Rampage overall. They are starting to build up this gold lead at around the 27-minute mark for what was actually a pretty quiet early or mid-game right here from Rascal Jester while they had the gold lead. As we move into the later parts of the mid-game, as people start to hit those 2 items, they're going to be in a much, fights will be much more decisive. Every fight matters a lot more. Tussle is going to be looking for the Cocoon, doesn't find it onto Wyvern. But there is, again, this is just the trading of vision that we tend to see from Japan at this point in the game. One team moves in, sets up all kinds of vision. The other, as they move out, the other team moves in, sweeps everything out, kills all of the control wards, and puts themselves in effectively a neutral position afterwards. And I don't expect to see a whole lot of action from these 2 teams until the next dragon spawns in about 4 minutes or so. And really, what will happen will likely be the next key point is to see whether or not Ramane is finally strong enough now that he's picked up his second item to go toe-to-toe with this Kassadin, who is going to be very important to the success for Rascal Jester. If he can split push successfully, he can keep Ramane out of the fight. But if he can also jump onto Yutori, who is still that fairly immobile Ashe ADC, if he can jump onto that, it'll be a fantastic spot for them to really push through these fights. And we've seen this play before by Rampage. The pink ward comes out. Wyvern does get spotted out, is stunned up. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow does force the flash out of the Lee Sin, but Ramane is being forced out super hard by Lavier. We see the teleport coming in from Evi and the counter teleport coming in from Ayumomo. And Rampage is going to be a little bit faster to the draw right now, but it's not going to matter if you're already down a member. Ramane is back in base. He's not yet have his teleport up. Ben Tussle is going to be in a dangerous spot right here. The body slam is not going to land, but the first cask is. Evi's going to be jumping onto Lavier, but there goes Tussle. That's the first one. That's a couple of ultimates committed. Cataclysm is used onto Kassadin. That's not the target you really want to be using that on. Now, with the jungler dead, Rascal Jester is saying, this is our time. We're going to move towards the Baron, potentially try and bait out Ramane. As he does come in, he does find a couple of members, does not get hit by the Resonating Strike, but Rascal Jester is actually hanging with these top level teams incredibly well off of the power of Wyvern right now. And he's in such a strong position, has the Black Cleaver and the Hex Drinker completed, not going to be taking any magic damage whatsoever, and with no ultimates really available for Rampage, it's going to be a difficult time for them to deal with this, with the split push by Lavier. They can't get a good engage. Ramane is going to come around the side, get some good damage onto Yuki. There comes a flag and drag out of Evi. They might be able to finalize the kill, but they don't. Yuki's going to be able to walk back. The Explosive Cask is going to push Ramane in the wrong direction. Lavier is going to try and follow him after the distortion, but Evi is in a bad spot. No ultimates available. Oh man, there's so many things going on around the fight. It's incredibly split, but ultimately nothing lands. Everybody is going to be able to walk around a couple blinking red health bars, and with the dragon spawning in 20 seconds, both teams are going to want to back and go back to the dragon and do the exact same thing. Couple of items are starting to come out. We see many more control wards on the side of Rascal Jester's inventory than we see in Rampage, and that's a couple of different things that could be coming out. One is the a little bit better team cohesion, a little more focus on that vision, but at the same time, a lot of it's getting swept out. Yuki's taking a lot of damage. Yutori Miyashi's in a bad spot. He is hit by the Chains of Corruption. The explosive cask is going to land onto him, but he is still alive. The exhaust is not going to be enough. He does finally go down to the Cassidon, and here we go. Here comes Ramune back around the side, and it is a 3 for 2 so far. Evie's going to be on the wrong side of everything. Misses the flash over the wall. He's going to have to go for some kind of escape, but against a Cassidon, there's not a lot of escaping to be done. And Tussle currently 0-4-3, one of the first to fall in that fight, and that's going to be a huge positioning advantage for Rascal Jester. They are going to be rewarded with this mid lane turret, but not a lot of gold. Even with that mid lane turret opening up the map significantly, it does get traded back, and they're only 200 gold ahead, as the Cloud Drake is going to sit untouched. Right now, that is going to be a second turret in the mid lane going down very quickly from the Mountain Drake. But it's a dangerous spot for Rampage as they start to move around. We go back into this replay. Yutori is very low. He is caught up a little bit. Unfortunately, gets hit by a lot of CC after he uses the Quicksilver Sash. And Dara tries to be the second ADC, but he's not in a strong enough position to do so. There's no ultimates left available, and Ramune is like, "Peace, Evie. I'm sorry, you're not in a position where I can do a whole lot for you." Evie choosing to try and escape potentially could have found, a good aggression onto Noah, who had already used the flash, had already used the heal, but not able to do so. We do see the Infinity Edge coming out from Yutori Moyashi as well. Going to be doing a huge amount of damage in these team fights if he is able to stay alive. There is no exhaust on Dara. His Quicksilver Slash is back up, but he does not have the flash. He does not have the heal, and there's no locket coming out from the team or anything that will really help him. There's no redemption. He's really on his own for the most part, and normally that's okay. You see that in a lot of teams in this kind of composition, where the Jarvan and the LeBlanc are able to provide so much threat that the ADC kind of goes ignored, and that's kind of what we're seeing a little bit with Noah in this game. He's 1-1-5, but really it's because of how much damage and how much threat Wyvern and Lavia are providing to the backline that Rampage, Varus isn't doing the same amount of damage as these frontliners are, so they have to focus down the front lane. They have to keep Yutori alive. They have to help keep Dara alive as well as one of the secondary damage threats. And now we finally see Rascal Jester starting to move in to pick up this Cloud Drake, help them move around a little bit faster, get to that Baron in record time, and they do secure that for themselves. We talked a little bit earlier about the kind of CSing that Yutori does, and right now he's getting very close to that 100 CS lead up over his opponent, and with a couple of backs getting spotted out from Rascal Jester, Rampage do manage to sweep out the Baron Vision once again, get a little bit ahead in that. Last Whisper coming out for Yutori. We do finally see a third item on Ramune, a third item in the Gargoyle Stoneplate coming out for Evie as well. Such a good item on that champion, just being able to reduce so much damage. It is, I've mentioned this a little bit before, but Zyrene probably put it best. If you double your health, just consider everything to be 50% damage reduction, because when you go back, you stay at the same percentage health here at the beginning, not the same raw health. And that's a fantastic spot to be in. Tussle going for a much more aggressive build on this Elise than you might otherwise expect from a player who's 0-4. We do see the Banshee's Veil and the Leandre's coming out, so he's still doing some hefty damage, but it's not the much more tanky build we saw. Yamomo is finding Dara here, gonna get a lot of damage onto him. The teleport is coming out, but Yutori Miyashi is forced into the back, or into the rest of the team, and that is gonna be going over to Noah as Lavia is trying to find more onto Ramune and Tussle. Not going to be able to do a whole lot, but they are going to be able to move into this mid lane and start taking down this first inhibitor turret 10 minutes later than Rampage did last game. But the fact that Rascal Jester is able to do this to Rampage at all is a testament to their improvement over the over the last split. And right now they are going to finally secure that, create pressure for themselves, and it looks like, just like many solo queue teams, they're going to be heading directly to the Baron afterwards. They should be able to secure that for themselves, or at least all his vision. Yutori will not be alive for 15 more seconds, and Rampage are still in a position where they feel like they need to contest this. Tussle comes out, gonna try and throw it. Evie goes in, immediately cataclysms the entire team. The bullet time comes across the entire team. Yuki is very low. Dara's on the backside, but that is the first kill going over to Rampage, and the Tussle secures the Baron for the team, and that is absolutely massive. While the kill helps out, if you can deny that from the rest of the team, that's going to give you so much pressure coming up very soon. It is going to be on 3 members as we see the Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming out, hitting Noah towards the end of that fight. But an interesting build coming out from Dara. He is going to be opting for the Hex Drinker, or the Maw of Malmortius, as his next item, and he really is going to be another damage threat in the rest of this game. He's got the Black Cleaver, he's got the Maw of Malmortius that he'll be finishing very soon, and both he and Yuki are going to be doing a lot of damage. But let's take another look at that team fight, and Evie is being a man. The engagement for his team, he jumps in and gets 3 members with a Cataclysm, doing great damage to all of them. Meanwhile, everybody else is trying to focus down Tussle, but he is just going to be auto-attacking and picking up that Baron. Does secure it for himself, getting that extra damage from the Smite, because Wyvern was nowhere near the Baron. He was looking to turn. The rest of his team wanted to secure the Baron, and that miscommunication is putting Rampage in a spot where they're only 2,000 gold down at 38 minutes. The largest thing separating these two teams is the extra Infernal and Cloud Drakes available to Rascal Jester, and now they're going to try and turn the same strategy that Rampage were doing on its head. But Evie's finding Lavier doing a lot of damage, is going to use that Cataclysm. There's no flash on Lavier, but the Rift Walk is at such a low cooldown at this point. Evie, with that Guardian's Angel, is going to do a lot of damage, looking for a Wyvern right now, and just chunking everybody out with that 10% maximum health auto attack passive he has available to him. Looking again for Lavier here, and Ramune is likely going to be in a good spot to start split pushing now that he has that Seeker's Arm Guard built up, and they're going to be starting to force out a lot of these players with the Baron buff right now. They are going to be looking for a lot of damage onto this mid turret. Lavier, this is a very bad spot for Rampage right now. Aoyumomo's coming around the back, the explosive cask available. There is a flash on Yutori Miyashi, but he flashes late, and he is taken down. Dara is getting good bullet time damage across the rest of the team. Noah's going to be falling in just a moment. He does. It's a 2 for 2 right now. Evie is forced into that Guardian's Angel and is going to be able to flash out. Ramune is going to be able to distortion away, but it's going to be a long chase if Rascal Jester do choose to do anything, as they do rout Rampage with that team fight. And there is still a Baron buff, I believe, on Ramune down in that bottom lane, as we see him pushing that out. But stalling the Baron buff and trading even is something that Rascal Jester is alright with doing. They should be able to do a little bit more since they're ahead. They do have that extra Infernal Dragon, which is amplifying all of the gold, the small gold lead that they have to a much larger. But I'm going to take a look one more time as Aoyumomo comes around. Yutori Miyashi is in a dangerous spot and does not flash. He instead uses the Quicksilver Sash without any CS, or without any crowd control onto him, and as Dara goes into the middle of the enemy team, it is just backlines largely traded during that team fight. Yutori and Dara traded for Wyvern and and Noah, as Yuki does manage to walk out of that alive. But it's also super difficult for Rampage to... Ramune's getting found out by by Aoyumomo. Not a whole lot going out right there. Resonating Strike being distortioned away from. but it's a very difficult task for Rampage to lock down Lavier's Caston. They only have the Cocoon and the Enchanted Crystal Arrow and a little bit of the Ethereal Change coming out from Ramane to really lock him down. Otherwise, they don't have the point-and-click CC that you might want. They don't have the Binding Roots, and Evie does have his teleport. He is looking to back first right now, and the Elder Dragon is down to half. Evie's going to teleport onto the backside. Ramane thinks he can take a fight with Lavi. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow goes down onto him. He's super low, and he's so much gold on the team that they have to back out from this dragon. Tussle and Dara are looking to potentially finish it, and Evie's on the backside. He has another Cataclysm, but Lavi is going to try and back and teleport back into this team fight full health. And this is such a tense moment right now. Evie is on the side. We're going to have to see where Lavier chooses to teleport to. They are clearing out this vision as the Elder Dragon is sitting at 5,000 health. We're getting into smite range very soon. It's going down, and it does go over to Tussle once again, getting another smite. Yamomo on the backside is taking a lot of damage, but Lavi is in onto the back. Does Zhonya's up, completely negating the bullet time, but he does finally go down. Evie gets the Cataclysm, but there's no bullet time left to follow it up. Yutori's going to be able to get a whole lot of damage down. He gets 1, he gets 2. That's a 3rd kill for Yutori Mayashi as Ramane fancies more. He thinks he can find Yuki. Does get stunned up, or torn up, but it's not going to be a whole lot more. Noah and Yuki are going to be able to walk away. Ramane is going to try and chase them out, stopping the backs as we see so often. They do manage to finally back, but it is going to be at the cost of their mid lane inhibitor. And it looks like Rampage are looking to go for a little bit more. There aren't ultimates on to either Zyra or Varus. They have the Elder Dragon, they have the Mountain Dragon, and they're going on to the first Nexus turret. That's the first one. Evie misses the flag and drag onto Noah. They try and get more damage. They do get so much damage onto Yuki. He's going to fall in just a moment. Yutori picks up another one for himself. That's a second Nexus turret, and only Noah alive. Evie jumps in, and that's a second game in favor of Rampage, and that's just how close that game was for the entirety of it. One mistake, Tussle just getting another smite steal. He got the Baron, he got the Elder Dragon, and just putting his team on his back. We talk about a lot of different junglers, one of the more famous ones being Meteos, right? He had that game of Lee Sin. He does nothing for the entire game, but he finds one kick, one smite, one stun, and that's all you need to do to turn the game on its head and really bring that rest of the game home. The decisive shot calling, yes, we can go for it. Noah and Yuki don't have ultimates. We have everything we need, and I don't really know what to say. Tussle is by far the MVP of that match. The Ivern play, completely shutting down Wyvern, securing that Baron, securing the Elder Dragon, moving around, helping out all of his team, even though he fell so far behind in Game 2, 0-4 at one point in the game against Wyvern's Lee Sin. But again, we didn't see necessarily Wyvern being able to transfer his advantage to the rest of his teammates. It's great that you're fed on Lee Sin. It's great that you're fed on Elise. You need to be able to put that gold onto your ADC because they're the ones who are going to be carrying after the 30-minute mark. We come in here, the teams do shake hands, and Evie, with that little smile, he remembers all the little things that happened in that game, and it's just such a huge testament to the mentality of Rampage and these top teams, no matter what region you're from. If you can maintain your composure, go through those team fights, realize all these little things need to work out in your favor, and be able to execute upon them, it's going to be enough to push you through. And right now, Rampage is sitting at 2-0 sets, 4-0 in games on the summer split. And we're going to take a look one more time as Tussle does end up taking this. We see Lavier going a bit too far forward on the team. He does nullify the bullet time, but there we go. The smite and the venomous bite are going to be enough, and Lavier is here in the back trying to find Yutori and Dara. The exhaust gets put down on him, and the bullet time gets a little bit of Yamomo and Wyvern, but not enough as he comes out of the Zonias. And this Cataclysm, Yutori Miyashi with that, what's the term? Ranger's Focus, going to get so many auto attacks down onto the members, even though he doesn't have the Ruin's Hurricane, opting instead for, I believe it was the Phantom Dancer and the Static Shiv. He's going to be doing enough damage across all of those members to really bring them down. And Evie with that Gargoyle Stone play is going to be strong enough that he was not able to get brought down. Noah and Yuki not able to do the same kind of consistent high damage to him that the Misfortune and the Ash were able to bring out in that last game. And that was our first set of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Rampage versus Rascal Jester, going 2-0 to the expected team. They went to MSI. They got second in the spring split regular season and first in the playoffs. And right now they're making day. Yeah, of course. We are, of course, casting here from Seattle, Washington. It's potentially the worst place in the world to be casting Japan from, as we're just now hitting, getting done with the first set. We got another one coming up in just a moment. Unsold Stuff Gaming versus Detonation Focus Me. They're going to be watching this. They're going to be seeing Rampage, and they're not going to be playing them for a couple more weeks, but they do have to think about everything that they're doing and potentially bring out the Zach, the Zach Iron Cheese this early into the season against Rascal Jester. Of course, it might not be a valid drafting strategy later in the season, simply because Zach is almost definitely going to get nerfed by the time that they are going to be playing against these other teams. But it's a fantastic movement, fantastic strategies coming out from them. And Ramene's LeBlanc is the other thing. We did get to see him be much more aggressive overall. And it was pretty good for the most part. Unfortunately, he just got put in such a terrible position to start the game. Having double buffs on your lane opponent can be so oppressive, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to come across that. And Lavia is showing to be, a very strong player in his own right, doing a good job of competing against players like Remind on Unsold Stuff, and now showing that he can go toe-to-toe with Ramene as well and really help out the rest of his team. But of course, no surprise here, a 16.0 and a 1.6 KDA. I think it's just, the decimal place couldn't decide where it wanted to be throughout this series, but he is going to have such a huge impact on this game, enabling everybody else and really just pulling out the clutch factor that you really need to see at the higher levels of play. As the gap narrows within your region, you do just have to be able to make these small adjustments, make these small plays, that small mechanical decision, that that small movement, taking a little bit less damage here so you can put out a little bit more later. And he really showed that he can do that. The one thing that we do need to talk about Tussle, though, as we go forward later into other sets, is he needs to rein down the early game aggression a little bit, or be a little bit smarter than that. It's a little bit reckless. We are going to get an interview with him here right now. Unfortunately, I won't be able to translate any of that for you. By the time I figure out what they're saying, it's already going to be over. So we're going to take a quick break for now, let you guys listen to that, and we'll be back in probably about 10-15 minutes as we get into our set 2 of the evening. Don't go anywhere. This is Joshua Joshi Howard. We'll be back.